It was not about winning a show. It was about crushing the dream of even trying. So my whole thing was, I knew who I was, and I was willing to do the work, and I was not going to sell myself short. The best part about it was that I earned the respect when I got it. I have to retire at some point. So what else do I have brewing? I'm up here, but I got to have something brewing. What are you doing when the lights are off?
When'd you pick up cigars?
Almost 12 years ago. And guess who got me into it? My fucking nutritionist.
Why?
Because that's what he did. And he thought that it was cool. Like something like the reason why we all do it. You get to meet different people. You meet people from all walks of life. And I've always noticed, like, going to cigar lounges, that it don't matter like who you are, how much money you make. You could be sitting next to, like, especially like where he lives in Los Gatos. He lives like across, like 2 blocks away from Netflix and Barracuda, and all, he's in that area. So you go to cigar lounge, you definitely are meeting someone of importance, so to speak. So I liked it because he'd bring me around those type of people. And he'd be like, yeah, that guy, he's like vice president over at Netflix. This guy works for Sony. This guy works for this company. This guy works at Apple. And I could give two shits what they did. I just like the conversation.
How'd you get into cigars?
My warrant officer, Navarrete, he said, you guys come back from a patrol? You guys come back from a mission, come back from a training mission? There are no mishaps? Nothing went down? Cigar. It's funny because he kept giving us cigars, and you're asking about the first cigar. So the first couple of cigars like kicked my ass. Like, dude, I could only smoke like half of it, right? So I got out the Marine Corps, and I go to the Cigar Lounge, and for the first time I had to buy my own cigars because he'd always give us cigars. Okay, that's what Warrant Officer Navarrete. So what's the cigar? It's a Padron. Oh, okay. Can I get one? He says, yeah, that's like the Mercedes-Benz of cigars. Really? Not the Chevy? Not the Chrysler? No, that's like the Mercedes-Benz top line Aston Martin of cigars. Okay. So it's like $26 a cigar. Dang. And so the Cigar Lounge was having an event, and the Padron brothers were coming in to talk about their family story, how they started with $500, went door to door selling Padron cigars, and now it's a brand. And so I bought a box, and I had the Padron sign it, and I mailed it to him in Afghanistan. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. He said, I emailed him the other day. He's like, I still haven't opened it. It's like, that was like,
they're done now.
Yeah.
They're done now, blood. That's cool though, man. I think we all have a story about how we did it.
Yeah. What's cool about where we get to see Patrick and see how he does that to you, the different personalities. Yeah. It's a pretty dynamic thing.
My trainer, if you had met him, I could count on one hand how many times he told me I looked good. It's pretty funny. And since over the past year, I could say now on the other hand, he's done it probably more because he's probably reflected on like how many times we've won. But during that time where we were winning show year after year, show after show, even at the beginning of our working relationship, you look like shit. You're this. I'm like, really? Yeah. You're fat. You're this. You're that.
So your trainer told you, he'd never tell you look good. This is looking good, blah, blah, blah.
But I say that to say this. It's kind of like when we're looking over the course of this week. Certain employees you can talk to like that. Leaders you can talk to like that. He knew I was a leader. He knew that I was a leader because Patrick's right. I don't have a training plan.
Yep.
I don't need one. I can go in there and do my job. I can go home. But could he talk like that to one? He owns a supplement company and a consulting firm. He could not talk like that to one of his other athletes that competes. Oh no, they would flip out. They call me up and say, hey, he said this about me. And I'm like, dude, that's like a term of endearment, but everybody is not the same.
But question, did he change his, did he encourage you more after the seventh? Because you can break, but sometimes you need all.
His level of encouragement wasn't telling me I looked good. His level of encouragement would he studied me. I could tell when someone's really analyzing my behavior and stuff. So he would get me on the phone and he'd be like, you ready to fuck these guys up? That's the conversation.
I love it.
Like we'd have like, hey, how you doing? How's your wife? How's your kids? Oh yeah, I was great. Yeah. How's your parents? So you ready to fuck these guys up? And he'd have like the weird laugh, like like weird, and I'd be like, absolutely.
How fired up?
And sometimes it would be like hanging up the phone right after. And I'd talk to him the next day and be like, okay, what's my marching orders? Oh, you got to do this, and this. And I go, okay, all right. And I talk to him a week later, and then we just keep it going. And it was more of those things like, are you really ready to fucking destroy? Like, I mean, the way that we talked, it was almost like Leonidas, but he knew, and he still knows. Like, if I call him right now and I say, I'm going to be like this comic book character Galactus, who's like a planet destroyer, and blah, 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 and that's how I'm going to be. We were always able to play off each other to say that it was not about winning a show. It was about crushing the dream of even trying. Like I did a video the other day. I was at the gym. I said, yeah, I'm about to go. This is Phil Heath. I'm about to go in the gym, go train some chest, do this. I'm going to do delts, blah blah blah. I came out of the gym. I was like, yeah, I trained chest. I'm so fucking excited. I beat the fuck out of those weights. I said I beat them so bad. I beat them until they stopped screaming.
The weights.
Yeah, beat them until they stopped screaming. So imagine you did mixed martial arts. Imagine if you beat a guy so bad that he stopped screaming. What that means.
Yeah,
that means he's like
brutal.
Like beyond
oh my god.
Audible.
like you got to think you're beating him up already, right?
That's crazy.
You were beating the guy's ass, and it went from like okay enough to now he's scared to now he's thinking he's gonna die to death and beyond. But for me, it was like I gotta beat them so bad. Because I was the guy that was coming up in the ranks very fast. So it's like the company that comes up really fast. I was taking market share. I was getting the sponsorships for everybody. People were feeling like I was given stuff and didn't earn it. No, they valued the growing potential of this stock, which was me, and they poured money into it and they gained from it. But your competitors don't see it like that. So I would have guys being like, well, you didn't even prove yourself. The first one of the first times I was trying to get a sponsorship, the athlete's rep was like, well, we'll pay you this much. And I was like, that's not the number that, I had my friend consult with you about. Well, no, that's what we got, this and that. And I said, okay. I don't know. I told him, I said, no disrespect, sir, but I don't even know why we're still on the phone.
Power play.
And he was like, well, because this is this. And he said, well, how about we negotiate? I said, I'm telling you what my number is. Your friend already told you. And that's what I'm worth. And he goes, you haven't even done anything yet. Because I haven't competed as a pro yet. I was getting ready for my pro debut, but I hadn't competed yet. So he was basically saying like, well, you're asking for money that we pay, a top 10 pro in the world, and you haven't even competed yet. And I said, can you say that one more time? And I was being nice. I said, I want you to say this one more time to me, please. His name is Dave. I said, and he did. Yeah, man, you haven't even done anything yet. I said, that's great, because in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to compete against 5 of your current athletes that you have on payroll. And I'm going to beat them all. I said, and here's what's going to, and he goes, oh, really? I said, I'm not talking shit. I'm telling you what's going to happen.
Is it true?
I said, I'm going to beat them at my pro debut, and then I'm going to go, which was in Colorado. I said, I'm going to beat them there, and I'm going to beat another set of your guys the following weekend in New York. And then you're going to come calling me back. And then I'm going to double the price probably. Or give you a price that I just know you can't do. Because it's a sign of disrespect, and it's not disrespect. I said, okay, you don't believe. You just don't believe, and I get it. I said, I totally get it. You don't believe. But you're going to find out the hard way on this, I promise you. I won both shows. He calls me back. He goes, basically he's trying to say, like, let me call this guy back to see if he's really serious. And I said, I've already moved on. I just told him I was being the gentleman. I said, I've already moved on, and good luck to me. Ain't no good luck to you, because you're good, right? Because you already got your athletes. You already got your, $1 billion company and this and that you work for. But you could have had the LeBron James, the Kobe Bryant, right away. There's a reason why Nike, the minute LeBron was going to go pro, Nike started funneling money to his mom. He was told that he was getting $100 million, 10-year, $100 million contract when he was in high school. It's like Zion Williamson for Duke. The minute he blew that shoe out, you know he's guaranteed $200 million. He's probably going to be guaranteed $200 million in his own freaking shoe for, let's say, a 10-year deal. The minute he gets drafted.
So once a generation player.
Once a generation. So my whole thing was, I knew who I was, and I was willing to do the work, and I was not going to sell myself short. So I told that company,
so it was kept a long game.
which I ended up working. I ended up working for that company 4 years later, and the best part about it was that I earned the respect when I got it, and they still try to negotiate me down 4 years later. Oh, is it all about the money for you and this and that and the other? I was like, you guys don't see the metrics that I see. It wasn't just based on how I looked, it was how I spoke and what the fans' reaction was. So I always try to negotiate a deal based on what I was worth on that day. I didn't try to go based on futures. Because as an athlete, I think a lot of athletes do that. They say, oh yeah, I'm worth $200 million. And it's like, yeah, but like you're doing $1 million worth of work right now, just $1 million.
Yeah.
So maybe do like a contingent, like, okay, it's a 5-year with 3-year guaranteed. We'll renegotiate after the 2-year, and then hope by year 3 we'll not just complete the 2 years remaining, but we'll extend it past that with a whole new deal. But I'm an athlete. I'm not supposed to talk like this. I'm not supposed to know shit like this.
Yeah.
And that was why, like, I always made sure that worked for myself, and then, you know, looked at other athletes of different sports. Like John Stockton, the basketball player, was, you know, people don't even know this probably about him, but he didn't need an agent. He didn't use one. He'd go into your office and he'd tell you what he was worth on that day. Pay me no more, no less than this today. It was pretty simple. Thank you very much. Goodbye. So I would do the same thing. Pay me no more than no less than today. And sometimes that worked in my favor. Sometimes it worked in theirs. Because maybe I didn't set the number high enough.
Yeah.
Maybe I set it too low or set it just right. You know your worth, and you're just putting your foot down and you're providing the validity through your actions, not just your mouthpiece. Sometimes you get away with this, but I just never wanted to screw someone over by saying, oh yeah, I'm the latest and greatest and I'm this, and then not put, but a lot of guys in my industry did that.
Yep.
You know, when it comes to this type of business, I always think it's important to, when you have someone that is talented. I wasn't the most talented as far as like a businessman, no way. But when you have someone that's eager and is doing work that, like analytics and stuff, that, like if you have an employee, Anton, that's doing these analytics and stuff, and he one day pulls you aside, starts telling you shit, what are you gonna do? Not pay him? You gotta pay him, dude. Like when we heard your story, I was like, you gotta pay him. Yeah. You're gonna find someone that's like gonna go, like the other dude that was in our class, Ali. You got if you had a guy like him, and he's afraid to go to his boss to ask for more money. Are you gonna just like not see what he brings and keep him there?
That's the thing. You cannot.
You got to do it.
You have to see it. Yeah.
You just got to do it.
Step yourself.
You got to. I think you and I were talking about it. Like you got to be willing to try and just pay him.
It's the risk.
But if he's already proven that he was,
then it's even.
Then it's
like for example, in our industry, in the insurance industry, there's very few companies anymore that hire inside salespeople because they found a different distribution outlet. That's why PHP is here. Yeah. So, for example, like MetLife. I don't know if you've ever heard MetLife in America, but you've heard of MetLife, right? So MetLife's a big Snoopy, company. Well, MetLife sold their agents, 4,000 of them, to a competitor.
Sold?
They sold it. All their salespeople are gone. What? Yeah. So here's the thing. They're still selling. They're still selling their products, but through distribution outlets like ours. But their salespeople are gone.
Crazy.
So I mean, it depends on what you value. Like I noticed that trend too in the military. Yeah. Like they wanted to kick out all these Marines on active duty, but they wanted to keep them in the reserves. Because it was cheaper to keep them in the reserves, keep them trained up, but they have to pay them full-time benefits.
It's like I remember coming out of college and I had a couple buddies that, you know, they had degrees that just wasn't, you know, paying them in that field that they went to school in. One of my friends was like, man, if it's summertime, I'm working as a construction guy. And my friend was like, why would you do that?
You got a degree.
He goes, because they're paying me $25 an hour, that's why. He goes, and I don't mind wearing, boots and jeans, and I can wear no shirt or whatever, and I got a shovel now. I don't care. He goes, my bills need to get paid. I got bills. And he goes, you never know, man, I might like it. Meaning like he might like the industry itself and go from just being a bricklayer or whatever to, being a project, running his own company one day. And I think a lot of the time it comes down to people not seeing the bigger picture of what a job could be as far as a career is concerned. Simple story, graduated college, IT business degrees, ended up working at a Bally's. What the fuck is that? Well, tell you what, I took my graduation cash. Oh, you graduated college, here's some money, here's some money, here's some money. My parents wanted me to move back home to Seattle, live with them. I said, oh no, I got an apartment. Really? Well, how do you do that? I said, I used all my grad cash to put 10 months down. And I had a roommate, so now I had enough money to have 14 months with all my bills. And I could sit around and do nothing and still have 14 months with, my old school dial-up internet, food, partying, money aside, gas, and rent. So the roommate I had was like, hey, I work at a Bally's. I'm a personal training director. I do really well. I can get you a job. And I said, yeah. And he was like, because if you're my roommate, you got to have a job, man. So I want to make sure you're paying your. I said, dude, I just paid downstairs. I'm good. I literally wrote a check. I was like, here's my stuff. Here's my half. I ended up being a retail manager at the largest quota Bally's in Denver. You know how many times I was making smoothies for people that would look at me and be like, didn't you just play basketball at the University of Denver, which is a high-priced school, it's a private school, this and that, so-and-so went here, this person went here, and you're making smoothies. And they're literally laughing at me in line. Laughing at my ass in line. This lady, I give her a smoothie, and it's this tall, but it's not overflowing. She wanted it overflowing. And I told her, I said, if I do that, and I put the lid on, it pops out once you put the straw in. Well, you need to redo it. I said, okay. I said, I'm thinking customers always right. Let's just do it. But I said, ma'am, how about I do this? How about I just make another one and then pour the rest of it in there? No, you need to do it all over. I mean, she wanted and so this other guy was like, yeah, laughing. Another guy says, you know who he is? Yeah, he used to play basketball. Look what it got him.
So what did it do?
A couple degrees and stuff. What did it do? I tell you what it did. It made me say something that I almost thought I was going to get fired. I said, I played ball and it didn't work out for me, but I got a couple degrees and you guys don't realize something. This is my store. They're like, this is not really your store. This is Bally's store. I said, no, I work here. I'm the manager. This is my store. Because guess what? I have the keys. I could turn this whole thing off. I'll get fired, but it's still my store. I said, if I decide to take all the product off the shelf, it's my store. If I decide to not go against the planograms and all this other stuff, I said I do the ordering, I do the hiring and firing, I do the payroll, I check inventory to take it from upstairs to downstairs, I do the planograms, I do all this other stuff. I said, I know our personal P&L for a store. I said, I know that there's 10 other Bally's that their retail managers are hitting quota, but I'm not hitting quota. You know why? Because I'm not discounting soft drinks, which is illegal in Bally's. You're not supposed to discount a soda. You can discount maybe a vitamin, but not. Why? Because it's fixed pricing for the parent company, for the company, right? So I was always making sure that we were keeping our lights on. Lights on for us was 44 to 48%. I was at 56% every month, still not hitting quota, but I was okay with it because I knew if this was my store, I would be making money. So my profit margin was above 50% all the time, while everybody else's that were discounting drinks was in the 30s. So I told them all that shit. And I said, I know how to run a business. That's why I got this job. This is my store. If I want to open up a supplement store one day, I know how to do it. Yeah. And the guy was like, that's why he went to DU. And I'm doing this while I'm still waiting on people. It does burn your ass a little bit. It gets you upset, but then you think, sometimes you got to tell people, not tell them off and flipping them off, but you flip them off by explaining your actions and what you're doing and what your intentions are. But for me, I was like, this is an opportunity for me to learn how to run a business at a very early age, at 23 years old. So that's what I did.
So you just didn't get a job to get a job. You got a job to teach you something.
I got a job to get a job, but then I learned during training what this could be.
Gotcha.
So when Paul's saying about people working in construction and then maybe not wanting to get wet or be tired and, oh, my back hurts, they're not looking at what advancement can I have in this corporation? What can I see? How much does the cement cost? How much does this cost? How much does that cost? Maybe I go do side jobs for people in my neighborhood because now I know how to lay brick. They're not thinking like an entrepreneur. They're not thinking like how I can get the side hustle. Because that's what this world's becoming. When AI takes over and shit, we're all be side hustling motherfuckers.
So in your world, Phil, what's the money maker in your world? Your Mr. Olympia, boom. What's the money maker? It just can't be winning Mr. Olympia.
You have to be able to tell a story, and you have to be able to do it properly. And you have to understand that if you're just an athlete with a great physique, then that's what you show. But when you can't talk to people about their journey itself, it's very difficult. The reason why I think Patrick brought me here, in addition to why people were wanting to hang out and take pictures and ask me questions, I was very blessed to see there was always a line for me after I got done, every day. Naturally, because they felt something. So in our business, it's a cult sport. So with a cult sport, that means there's a cult following. How did that be created? By emotions only. Because with working out, it ain't just about how you look, it's about how you feel. Because someone may be still a little fat, but the reason why they keep going is because it made them feel something. So I started looking at like what my strengths are with it. So my strengths are being able to say, yeah, I got the physique, I already got that. You know, I feel like compared to other people, I think I'm a better looking guy than some of the other gnarly looking dudes that I see on magazines. You can't be an ugly fucker and sell certain products. You just can't, man. It's very hard. It doesn't last long. People want to see a decent looking guy, you know?
And the physique.
And the physique. I have that superhero mentality of like every superhero, even a villain, has a code of conduct and how he treats things. So I think a lot of the time with athletes or celebrity or even business owners is that they don't have that code, whether it be good, bad, or ugly. They still need a code of ethics, of how they handle everything, and be willing to, in a way, kind of ask yourself at some point, this has to lead to something else, so what am I doing now? I want to teach. So halfway through my career, I was like, man, I should teach people like how to get better too, because I already cracked my own code. My personal code, I cracked it. I can't say even kinda, I have. I know how to win the Olympia. Great, good for me. Great, good for me, but what else can I do? What's next?
We were having a side conversation about you processing that you're 5'9", 180 pounds. You may not get drafted into the NBA. That was a reality.
It wasn't even mine. It was realizing after my sophomore year that why is everybody else taller than me? Just because I show you a video of me slam dunking a basketball looking cool and stuff, that's great. But you got guys that are 6'5" doing that with the same vertical that I had. I ask a simple question. I go, I wonder how many millionaires work for Microsoft? Because I'm from Seattle, so I wanted to know. More than the NBA. Then I'm an idiot for thinking I'm going to go pro in the NBA, because how many NBA jobs are available every year? Only like 20.
So you looked at the data.
Yeah, you look at the data, you're like, I'd be stupid to think that it's the 1% of the 1%. No, this is like Haley's Comet. You only see it every so many, like, this probably ain't for me. So I can keep trying, and I did, trying to get acceptance from my coaches and this, that, and the other. Man, it wasn't based off of my work ethic. It was based off of the numbers, man. They're not going to take a chance on a 5'9" guard that weighs 175 pounds when you got guys that are 6'9", you know, that can shoot, jump, and play D the same way. It's just, you're kidding yourself. So finish your degree and find something else. And luckily for me, I did do that. Didn't mean that I wasn't bitter about it, but I shifted focus into something else, and then a new door opened with bodybuilding. And I'd rather be a bodybuilder that has done what I've done than to play one game in the NBA, let alone 10 seasons sitting on the damn bench. Even if I would have made $100 million, yeah, that's great. But let's be honest, you make $100 million when you're in your 20s and stuff, you're probably going to have no money when you're in your 30s and 40s.
So, a lot of people that we end up recruiting are people who are transitioning in military, transitioning athlete. But a lot of athletes think they're eventually going to go pro. So what advice would you give a D1 athlete, D2 athlete that thinks they're going to go pro, but the chances are, the data is pointing that they may not get drafted? What steps, how would you help them process that? Find something else.
To show it. Yeah. Show it. And then, let's say they're 20 like I was. I think that was around the time, I can't remember who was coming out of high school, but there's always a new kid coming out of high school. There's always every year. So you should have to ask yourself, I had to ask myself, and I would ask that kid. I'd say, you know what? Okay, let's say you're a senior and you're scoring 15 points a game off your college team, and yeah, you guys even went to the NCAA tournament and got knocked out in the first round. Good for you. Okay, ask yourself, who's coming up? Where do you think you rank in your conference? Oh, you were only second team all conference. So then you're gonna have to go to hope to get invited to some camps, NBA combines. I got an invite to the D-League, which is now the G-League. I did. Yeah. I decided not to because I'm like, what's that gonna do? I'm gonna get paid $20 grand a year to go hope to get a 10-day contract that could later turn into something else. Yeah. When I know that there's other ball players better than me, it doesn't mean that you suck, and that's the hardest part to tell a young kid, especially the athlete. It doesn't mean that you suck. It means that you weren't good enough to play this position. You weren't good enough, sir, to work for Apple or to work at Amazon and be a vice president because you don't have the skills. It's just the way it is. Business might be a little different because you can learn skills, but maybe you're not fast enough learning them. So to tell an athlete to stop playing is kind of rude because you want them to live out their dream. But to tell them like to have a fallback plan is smart. Because even for me being a pro bodybuilder, I know I'm one of the greatest of all time. That's great. And some people may even see this and be like, he's talking about himself like this. No, on paper, that's why I say it. But even I have to say, I have to retire at some point. So what else do I have on the, brewing? I'm up here, but I got to have something brewing. So then eventually this goes here, bodybuilding career goes here, but business is going here.
Yeah. And you leverage your platform while you're on it.
So you can leverage your platform being an athlete in college. Make some friends in college. Shoot, JP and I were just talking about it this morning at breakfast. Remember we were talking about like how some kids, there were kids at this conference. I'm like, whose parents are paying for this?
12-year-old.
Whose parents are paying for this? And as a parent, I mean, you might have money to burn and maybe you don't. But the likelihood of that kid getting, and then that kid becoming the next Zuckerberg is very slim, even with the data that we have, because it takes work, and some people don't work. So some parent it's like a parent saying, "Oh, my friend's he played for the Dodgers. He's a pitcher, and he's going to teach my kid, how to pitch,
Yeah.
And they pay those parents that be paying all that money for those camps. Same shit.
Yeah.
So it all comes down to the application and the willingness to learn, and then. What are you doing when the lights are off? What are you doing when you're not on Instagram? What are you doing when there's no one in the room? No one's nagging you to do it. Are you studying? Are you working out? The reason why I won the Olympia is because, for a lot of things, but one of them was that I knew that I had to outwork and outsmart them. How do you outsmart someone lifting? Well, my technique always had to be perfect. Don't pick up bad habits. But here's the best part. I had to learn how to recover faster.
Just work out more.
Thank you. I could work out twice as hard, meaning I could have a greater output.
So your velocity is good.
Exactly. I could do those more calls, right?
Yeah.
I could stay in the gym. I could go twice a day if I got to. I'll find a way. But then I got to find a way if I can recover and I can train smart so I don't get injured. So you really hope that you have it in you to say when, ring the bell, and transition.
What's the hardest thing about being part of a judged sport?
Sometimes even when it's objective, it can be subjective. The objective is this, this, and this. Okay, you hit those things. You have those measurements. You have that look. Now it's subjective.
To the judge.
To the judge.
To their biases.
Certain things can be political. I say it's when it goes from objective to subjective, and it can go back and forth. You're definitely at the mercy of whatever they choose on that day. So you have to really cross all the T's and dot all the I's, and then you just have to pray that you're the guy that they pick. That's it. And sometimes you get lucky, and someone gets hurt, or someone, doesn't peak. Like I lost the Olympic because I didn't peak because I got injured. I was injured
from the hernia surgery.
Yeah, so I was injured. Now, does that mean that that's taken away from the champion? No, but it's a fact. And then I have to take away from that and say, well, man, you're second in the world of something injured. So can you get healthy again? And if you can, you're probably going to win. So that's the bright side of things. All of us have to remember that our best is always going to be good enough. It will always be good enough for that moment. And if we can be humble enough to take some criticism, and that's the hardest part.
Take criticism.
Because you're going to go to a judge and you're going to ask them, so what can I improve on? When you lose, that's harder than when you win. When you win, you'd be like, so I'm just going to go over to the judge, try to kiss some ass and ask him, what should I improve on? Yeah. But what if you didn't get in the top 5 and you feel like you got overlooked? Because maybe the judge's eyes got tired and they saw so many bodies and throughout the day and this and that. They all look the same after a while. Because if you got 20 guys on stage, the top 10 is pretty easy to pick. After that, if you're 15th, you could have been, I could have been 11th. That's what the athletes will say. Yes, you could have. So in our sport, you know what they do after 15? Everyone's tied for 16th.
Okay.
Because by then it don't matter. So it's kind of it's a kick to your groin. Shot to your ego, whatever. Like, you're like, damn.
So you don't feel bad that you're number 25.
16. Yeah, 16. I played 16th.
Where'd you play 16?
It's like
Actually 36.
Right. But it's hard to be adjudicated by people, and then now with social media, you could be judged by a judging panel, win, but now you got another component. You got fans, and they try to change perspective for judges. Anyone that judges an event listens to the newspaper. They read the newspaper, they listen to the news, and they definitely read what's being said about the athletes that they judge on social media. They definitely do it. I don't care what they say. They do it. So now you're dealing with a human component. This ain't AI.
Right.
So you as an athlete have to be mature enough to understand that that's part of the game.
Kind of like how we're having this conversation with you. You mentioned a relationship with Schwarzenegger, or an interaction. How would you say relationship? You had an interaction with Schwarzenegger at the Classic.
Yes.
Did you ever have this dialogue with Schwarzenegger, just like chopping it up? And
No. Because I always... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm wondering. Yeah, I'm wondering why. Was it on his end? Was it on your end?
I think it was more on my end because I respect greatness. So you're like, I don't really feel like. Have you ever been in a room with someone that you think is like the man, and then you're like, I can't talk to him. That's the guy, man. That's the dude. And
so Phil Heath feels that way sometimes.
Yeah. So I wanted to meet Arnold in a much different way than most people. I wanted to meet Arnold by getting a handshake, a trophy, and a check. Because that picture is not something everybody gets. I can get a selfie with him. Yeah, if I see Arnold, he'll take a picture with me. Why wouldn't he? But if I get a trophy from him, it's a little different.
Yeah.
So that's what I used to tell all my friends. I'm like, man, I don't care about that shit, but I got something that you don't have. I got the trophy, the check, handshake, all in one. Him holding my hand up in victory. I have that. So that's like bucket list complete.
Yes, come soon.
Idols become rivals, whatever you want to call it. That's pretty cool. You're acknowledged as a champion by one of your idols. I think that's great currency for a person's life.
Wow. Were you always as confident, as secure, or what are your insecurities?
My insecurities were social media.
I want to know, like Phil.
Oh, that
junior high school area. How was that?
All right, we're gonna do that.
Let's go.
I didn't like gossip. I remember being so insecure that my parents paid to have me. They got Remember Mars Blackman with Michael Jordan? Those commercials back in the day.
Yeah, Mary Jordan.
I'm a main man, Michael Jordan. And I was like, I gotta have. It's the shoes. The shoes gotta be the shoes. I wanted the shoes. Mom, can I get the Air Jordans? Can I get the Air Jordans? No. Mom, please. Well, I guess you can because you don't wear men's size yet. So you know what I'm saying. But the shoes still cost like $90. $90 back in the '80s was a lot of money. So they got me the Jordan 4s. I wear the shoes to school. You know the kid says, complete hater, but he was smart. Those ain't even real. Those are XJ900s. Those are Pro Wings. Those are the fake Jordans. That's what I said. No, they're not. They're Jordans. I see on the tongue it has the Jordan and the Nike Air on the back and this and that and the netting on the side. I'm a kid, 8, 9 years old. That type of insecurity, trying to prove someone wrong, trying to prove someone right all the time. And I still remember it. 30 years ago, I still remember it like it was yesterday. Kids like, those are fake. That's a bully. But a bully knows your insecurities before you do.
Yeah. Kids
are interesting because kids that bully other kids, they're smart. How did that kid know that I was that soft? That he could get me on that one.
How did you change that? And at what point was it that you had that turning point? That you just said, you know what, fuck everybody.
I mean, I think
Especially coming up.
I think certain things in life, it didn't all happen at once. So like the whole shoe thing, I mean, I figured that out later, you know, like, all right, man, screw you, man, like whatever, like I got this. Like, you're just jealous. Girls was another, growing up, you know, not asking the girl that you wanted to out because you thought that you weren't good enough, and it's not because she ever turned you down. She went out with your best friend because you didn't ask. She had to go out with somebody. And then you realize, we talk about when it clicked, when you open up your senior yearbook and then you realize all the girls you wanted to talk to gave you their number. Remember that was like the coolest thing? You couldn't get a number the whole year. But that was one of those things, like, you know, so it was like different things at different times. And even now, like, I guess now I'm smart enough to know, and it's from experience, that becoming an entrepreneur, and I've always been an entrepreneur. I mean, I had a clothing line, I have that still, but when we're talking about like big business, like taking things to greater levels and stuff like that, really saying, I don't need bodybuilding to compete, to provide, and then have this as a side business. I will flip it around and say, this is my main thing, and bodybuilding is now what it used to be, which was a hobby. I know that when I release a supplement company, I know when I relaunch my clothing line, I know when I introduce my meat company, people are going to do what? Chirp. Say that the products don't work. Say that I'm just in it for the money. Create rumors. Create noise. Because that's all they can do. Because they know what my true potential is. So now I learn, if they start talking shit, that means I'm doing something right. But it's easy to say that, but it's hard to deal with because
there's that initial reaction.
But that and the fact that it's online, a lot of people don't have to deal with that as a person. The company, yeah, but me as an individual, that's hard. So I can't go and say, well, I'm better than you or you're better than you because you don't have that problem. All I'm saying is that that's what I am going to get hit with that, and I have to be secure within my business, and that's why I'm glad that I read the books and I did the exercise, and I'm going to continue to do it, because when that storm comes and people start talking shit and this and that, you don't think that someone's going to come up to me and be like, so what are your numbers, this and that, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to try to stump me, I'm going to have them already beat. Every interview I do my homework. I was on Bloomberg Smart Money before I even sold one product with my old company. I made sure, though, that I didn't put my foot in my mouth by not being prepared. So sometimes now it's like through experience. We'll have a laugh about this in 3 months because you'll be like, yeah, I went on your social and people are talking about how your products are shit and this and that, but they never tried it and they just think that you're out here selling snake oil and this and that. But that's a troll. And you can't get concerned with that. There's going to be a person that thinks that you're a bad salesman, bad real estate agent, bad construction, bad. But when we listen to that stuff, we do grow it.
So there's a difference between being trolled and actually being critiqued.
Now that's a different thing. Now if someone said, hey, I ordered from your website and it didn't show up on time, this and that, that's a critique. That's a complaint, but really a critique. I bought one of your t-shirts and it had holes in it. I brought one of your proteins and when I opened the box and I opened the lid, that everything fell out. Or even worse, I had this happen to me once. Because I don't know about you guys, but I buy products from competitors.
Just to see the process and see.
But also to see like the packaging and how it came and this and that and blah blah blah. So I bought this company, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna use it. It didn't even have a scoop in it. It was a bottle of plant-based protein and it didn't have a scooper in it. So we called the rep that we got a recommendation. And we're like, what the hell? You know what she says? Oh, well, you see on the box it just says use tablespoons. Because we're trying to be earthy and green, so we didn't want to put plastic inside of the thing. I said it's in a plastic container.
Not a cardboard container.
I said, so that just means that you guys didn't either have the scooper or you chose to skimp on that. But it's just stuff like that. What does success mean to you?
Yeah.
Because if you ask the average parent, what does success mean to them, you're going to figure out how they're raising their kids. You are. If they think education is the key, like, my stepdad, was an Army guy, worked for Boeing, was a TV engineer for an NBC affiliate, so technology was everything in our house. If I wanted to touch the computer, touch the Hewlett-Packard, I had to read the manual. He made me read the manual. I was only 11. So what you mean I gotta read the manual? He goes, it's not a toy. But it starts with the parents, man. What does success mean to them? Being an athlete, being popular. Parents letting girls wear makeup and shit because they were never popular. Maybe they were popular in high school. They want their kid to be popular. Why? Because I don't want my kids to be made fun of.
Because maybe they were bullied.
Maybe they're bullied. So what does that mean to them? And then you figure it out. But it's like you have to have these conversations. So then, man, you'd be like, wait a minute, I'm focusing on the wrong damn thing, man. You talk about creating balance. Look at the parents. Do they have balance? Are they faking it? You got people living in a loveless marriage and expecting their kids to love.
And then when the kids are at the house, they got to deal with themselves.
Yeah, and then you wonder why the kids are over here doing stupid shit. It's because, you didn't pay attention.
It's funny when Patrick asked a question. You talk about you're at the top of the world. You're at the Mount Rushmore type thing. You're starting a business. You got your insecurities. And we were doing that case study about, this and the 25% of fraudulent activity. And then Patrick asked the question, okay, so raise your hand if you got sued. And we both raised our hands up.
So that shit ain't no joke.
Yeah, right?
It ain't no joke, brother. We've all been sued, right? You haven't.
I live in Sweden, so nobody sues anybody.
Yeah. It's a competitive strategy.
Actually,
But how do you feel if you...
Say that one more time.
It's a competitive strategy. That's the way they...
That is so... That's so spot on. Holy shit.
That's how they try to get market share on it. If they can't beat you straight up...
That's cheap.
They'll find a way to sue you.
Is that a way to distract them? People do it for...
Yeah, let me distract you for a minute.
Let me move the goalpost.
Yep.
Let me set it up to where now you got to kick a 70-yarder instead of 50.
Yeah. For me, it's for a minute when I got sued. And of course, I had nothing to do with this lawsuit, but it was a competitive strategy, right?
Yeah.
It almost made me self-doubt what I was doing. It made me think twice. And the way I processed it, I said, you know what? I know who I am. I didn't do anything wrong. Right. As much as they're trying to get me involved in making me think that I get involved and trying to tell the world that I was involved, I knew what I did, and I got the documentation. And I just got to go prove it. But I got to control what I can control.
Yep.
Find the mouthpiece that's going to speak on my behalf. But I just got to stay focused in on my game.
Like in my situation with my own supplement company, I did not see that coming. And then when I found out, I had to sit there in conference calls sit there in physical meetings knowing that this guy, I'm like texting the guy next to me and saying, you do realize this guy did a Ponzi scheme on our company. This guy's doing this, this guy's doing that. And you know what's funny? No one decided to call the guy doing it out. And during that process, it was my fiance that found out. She knew the whole time. Her intuition was spot on. She knew the whole time these guys were up to something. When it got brought to my attention that this was a real deal thing, I said, give me all the bank accounts. I'll be the CFO. And then we go hire a new CFO. I was like, what's this look like? He goes, there's too many holes in this audit. There's just too many holes. Like, I don't know where the data, and you know, the data don't lie, right? Like, to a degree. Like, when there's holes in a data report like that, like in a financial, you know, forensic statement, you're like, I can't get funding. You start asking real questions. So then what do? They see you as a threat to their lie. Let's start talking shit about you. And then it was just office politics after that. Like, Phil's doing this, or it's not Phil. Well, Phil's girl is doing this. And then it becomes like a big narrative, and it's easy to do that. So then when you do, you have to stand strong. You can't jump, and you can't bite on it. Even you realize, man, if I'm trying to prove everybody right in certain situations, I'm going to waste so much time and energy, and even sometimes money that I could have been making by ignoring them. Gotta ignore it. But you turn it around. You be like, oh, you want a villain? All right, cool. I'm gonna be a villain that I choose to be, or I'll be the villain in business that I'm a shark and I go out. You know what I'm gonna do now? I'm gonna get it all. Let me go do what I need to do. I'm gonna run my own race, and while I'm doing that, I ain't paying attention to you guys. I'm not paying attention to what the newspaper's saying, because they need drama. They need a story. You don't need that story. You need to stay focused and keep kicking ass and taking names. And then in the end, with your close group of friends and coworkers and stuff, you can toast to saying, yeah, we stuck together and we kicked their asses, didn't we? We shook the heavens, and you know what I mean? We did it.
How long do you celebrate? Okay, you celebrate Mr. Olympia, blah, blah, blah.
It started for like a month, and then it ended up being actually not even a month. The first time I won the Olympia, I had to compete was it a week later or 2 weeks later? A week later, I think I had to fly to India. So I had to do it all over again.
So how did you stay in that peak state?
You have a system. Right after the show, it's a 2-day show in Vegas, so instead of partying too hard, which I did anyway, I was like, fuck this, I fucking won, I'm gonna party my ass off. I had less than 2 hours of sleep, you know, I was like, for 2 straight days, I had a total of 5 hours of sleep for 2 days. Here's the thing, you win the Olympia, you do the photo ops that night, and then I go to the nightclub, stay out way too late, but then here's the funny part, you got photo shoots the next day, so you can't really splurge too much. So now what that means? That means you have to show that you're a true professional. It's the only sport where you have to be a true professional after you win. You win the NBA championship, you can drink for the next. You can be like J.R. Smith and walk around with no T-shirt on. Remember after Cavs won? You can't do that at the Olympia. You win the show and you have photos that are going to be used for the following year's promotion. So what if you don't do a photo shoot again? Because now you're in peak condition. So you got to run that race still. So what does that do to your mind? You're like, but my job is over. No, it's not. So you have to have a certain level of discipline after the show. So when your friends want to pour you shots, you got to think, I've been dehydrated for 2-3 days. It's probably not the smartest thing to put that stress on my liver. So imagine, it's like, what's the movie, Pacific Rim. We beat the kaijus. What did Idris Elba say? He says, start up the clock. Remember? Because the next one's coming. So imagine you hit your number, you're salesman of the year. Pat says, man, I love you, man, but restart the clock. It's January 1st. That's cool, man.
So we take the morning after to celebrate. So for us.
Yeah.
After closeout, okay, we'll go to a nice breakfast, we celebrate as a team, but that afternoon, the next day, first day of the month, that afternoon.
Some guy asked me yesterday, how did you put your mind in that place when you knew that you were dealing with a problem? I said, well, them fools got their ass back home from space, Apollo 13.
That's right.
I better figure this out. I'm gonna find a way. Well, how'd you do with the pain and this and that? My girl said I cried every night in my sleep, but during the day I was like this. So when Patrick's up there saying like you gotta conceal some of your pain and this and that, you gotta do that shit.